Hey everyone, it's me. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for being here with me from my day one to my day now. So hope you're feeling blessed. If you don't know who I am, I'm Ashley. I'm a higher self channeler by trade. And I come on here to talk specifically about the higher self. How do we connect to it? Today, I'm going to be talking about the W5H of the higher selves. The who, the what, the where, the when, and the how. Right? So we're going to start this off with the who. Who is the higher self? You might be asking this to yourself, or you might have asked many times, what is it? How is it? Who is it? Where is it? Right? But let's focus on the who. The who of the higher self is you. You, not in the state that you're currently in. Imagine you're in the 3D. This state is not seen as the elevated dimension. However, elevated thought can permeate into the consciousness of the 3D state. And you yourself know that you might have had elevated thoughts that brought you out of the 3D state. Those thoughts that you were like, I don't even know how to explain that if I tried in human words, in human tongue to other people. That's the elevated state of higher consciousness. You were processing it, you understood it for that moment, but you can't relay it now, and it's really quite hard. That is who is the higher self. Now, where do we go with the when? When did the higher self kick in? Well, let's just be honest with ourselves. When we're children, we are the higher self. We are living at the I am state all day, every day. And it isn't until we have an intellectual inner banter with ourselves that the higher state steps in. Because it's sort of like when we divide into the ego and the id, right, is where the higher self steps in. Because when you were fully whole as an I am state as a child, you're not really much in need of the higher self, because you are, in essence, your highest self, because you are existing as you are. I am that I am as a child. No one has to tell you different. You just go by the beat of your own drum. And realistically, yes, you're being provided for and catered to and nurtured, but you just do you, right? So technically the higher self doesn't have a reason to kind of step in at that time. The when is when we start to split, conform to the outside world. And that's when the higher self starts to step in. For myself, I can honestly say that I was aware of this higher nature by the time I was like 6 or 7. And I don't know if that's because of family traumas that started to arise at the time, but everybody's going to be different. But there's going to be an intrinsic point in time where that higher knowledge, the higher self, the higher consciousness stepped in to guide you. And it's not even a stepping in to guide you thing. It's an internal dialogue that you have with yourself. So the when becomes when you started talking and having those debates with yourself. So that will be different for everybody. Now the where, I just kind of gave it away. Where is the higher self, right? Everyone always thinks that it's up here. And in essence, in terms of the consciousness that you are tapping into, it is truly inside in your heart. But I would say where I feel it the most is in my gut. So not only does the heart, as the heart chakra controls all the other, sacred chakra system that we have in our body. I would say it's the ultimate chakra. The heart gives way to all the other chakras and kind of is the heart of the chakras in a sense. But truly, in my own personal feeling of a body, I've always felt like the higher self was around where my solar plexus, between my solar plexus and my heart. If that makes any sense. But I know for a fact that the internal dialogue, and when I say internal, it's for a reason. And I'm going to explain this because when you dialogue with yourself, right? When you're like, oh, I had a really rough day at work today. I don't really know if I want to go to work tomorrow. God, it sucks going to work. I really wish I didn't have to take that bus. I really wish I didn't have to take that streetcar. Well, there's other ways to go home to work. I could park on the street, but that would cost a lot of money. We're doing that all day, right? That little banter with ourselves. Who are you talking to? You're talking to yourself, right? That's a comfortable statement. All of that meandering throughout the day. You're like, oh, I'm just talking to myself. Oh, I'm just talking to myself. Oh, I'm just talking to myself. And realistically, you are talking to your higher self. Because usually when you're innately talking to yourself, that is your higher self that you are discussing things with. Has your higher self ever sounded like you with your ridiculous banter talking back? I bet you the answer is no. Because realistically, when you're having that internal dialogue and any question that is formed back, and it's usually a question, it's not a what should you do? This is what you should do. And you should pay attention to that. Pay attention if it's direction versus questioning, because the higher self usually questions you. And it's all inside. You're talking to yourself inside, and it questions come back at you so you can get through your own navigation to understand your own problem. That's where the higher self is. It's not technically up here, it's actually inside here. Now, how do you get from here to up there? Good question. So what actually takes place is that once you are in tune, okay, meaning you realized the inner dialogue is your higher self, and you come into commune, it's like you lock, okay? It's like you finally get it, you're like, aha, that is me. That is my higher self talking back to me. And the belief and the trust that you have in that communication, in that commune, and that connection is where you'll start to feel the strum. Now, there is a cord, a nice, lovely cord that is attached to all the density beings that you were attached to. And at the same time, what also takes place too is that your oversoul, be it the largest version of you, which is ultimately still you, you're part of that oversoul. The version that sits here watching this right now is part of that oversoul. So what I will say to you is that your highest self, or your highest intent, or the highest light that you communicate with, there is dark. I have talked about this, but that's not usually who we should be speaking to. The highest of the highest intent for you, right, technically is of a higher consciousness, okay? But the inner dialogue, it's, let's say that higher consciousness is streamed in, just like it's streamed into your home with what? A cord. Most of us have internet, Wi-Fi, all types of different versions of cable, all from what? A stream, right? Or a line of some sort. If you think of it that way, that is basically why a higher conscious being, or a larger being with an oversight of your life, can be connected to you from within. It's because, let's just put it this way, the heart is the hook that is connected to the cord that is part of the higher consciousness. You are streaming that information from a higher consciousness into a lower density being, but it's through that stream. Now, is it possible for you as a 3D being to rise to meet that consciousness? Yes. Yes, it is. But it would take a lot of meditation, or maybe not a lot, depending on your level. And once you can resonate with that chord, once you could strum the chord yourself and you feel the vibration of that chord, trust me, communication gets a lot easier. You don't have to wait for the download. You can also uprise yourself to meet that consciousness as well. Because if you think about it this way, it's a two-way thing. Okay, it's not a one-way thing, it's a two-way thing. Now, if you were to rise to the occasion to meet that frequency, or to meet that conscious, resonance, you would have an easier time resonating and getting more faster information if you really wanted to. So I'm just letting you know, it is a two-way. So feel free to play around with that once you've come into commune and you believe that you are connected to your highest and most sacred higher self. Now, where were we? The why. Ooh. The why is probably a next level question. Why do we have higher selves? Well, let's put it this way. From my experience, this is what I will say. We are but fractals in a game, aka called life. And a huge disservice as a soul has been done to us. We have forgotten and had all of our memories stripped. So if we did not have any type of attachment to not only the other side, but also to our soul, we would probably be lost in this dimensional existence forever. Because if we didn't understand the connection, and if we could never be connected, and if we could never realize that everyone needs aid throughout a game, a test, school, let's say. Some people call it school, some people call it jail. I'm not really of both, because realistically, it's all determined on your conscious level and what you will co-create in. So technically, though, we are not beings that leave each other alone in the human circumstance, right? So why would we not help each other out in the soulful circumstance? Realistically, your higher self, which is you, wants to participate in this formation of existence. It's like as if God is, within you. The higher self, or the oversoul that you possess, is a fraction of the all source, but not fraction in the sense of not being part of the whole, but in a sense, identity is not important. Individuality, a uniqueness, yes, because your perceptive and perception of the world is unique. Unique to me, unique to others. I am not you, you are not me, your sister, your brother, everyone. All sees the world differently in a unique way, in a unique experience. So to say why a higher self wants to communicate with you, why our higher self is attached to you from the jump, is because in a sense, this is like your buoy system. And when I say buoy, I mean like those floating objects in the water. You need some type of like way of remembering who you are. Because if we were wiped and not giving any attachment whatsoever to our actual state, the actual I am that we are, then we may get lost in this minutia of an existence. So in a sense, the higher self acts like a buoy on the water. That is that tie to that soul spark. That is that tie to the essence of who we truly are. That other side, that soul side that we need to be in touch with and in connection with, because realistically, that's who we are. This is the facade. This body is the facade. We are just having an experience within a body. We could have any body, not predominantly on earth, we choose human bodies, right? But what I mean is that because we have our real existence, which is outside of this right now, and we decide to cohabitate and become one of the beings that is here on this planet, that is participating in this school or game or farm saga, whatever way you want to put it, this school of evolution, many names come to mind. I will say that the higher self is you. So who else would help you through your schooling? But it's in a sense the buoy on the water that helps you find your way home. I hope that helps. I hope that gives some understanding. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask me what my perceptions are. But realistically, we all have our own resonances. And if any of these things that I've said has struck that chord, bing, then just drop a line. I'm going to start doing some lives. Like I said, I didn't get around to last week because my son came down with he was just shooting out in every way. I had to do a cleanup crew this weekend. But this weekend, I'm really going to give it a shot. I want to do the lives. I'm going to try something pretty cool soon. I want to really open up this whole jiving with the higher self thing. Not many of you gave me a response about what you want to talk about. So I'm just going to spin that wheel, spin that wheel of reality and just stick on to one of the options that I've, thought up of. And at the same time, as we grow together as a community, we'll share more. I'm pretty sure. You know what I mean? I know that when I first got to school and when everyone else got to school, we're all just a bunch of shy guys, that don't want to say much. So I get it. I'm not really going to poke and prod everybody until you guys get to know me too. I'm really just a woman, a mother, giving a gift. And I'm going to start really ripping that gift as the new year arrives. And I hope to share that all with you guys in the most placid and beautiful way. But I did want to let this go. And I hope to find you guys on the lives. I really do appreciate everyone. And soon, I hope, before the New Year's out, I'm going to have the store set up. And when you see this huge shift that I'm about to bring to the forefront, I would really appreciate all the suggestions or help that I'll be needing to get that going. So I do love you guys. Have a great night or have a great day, whichever side of the world you're on. And I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.